we should build a shared community, but I fear too that that's impossible because you have two communities who want to get to different destinations. One side wants union and one side wants unity.
What you see now is a map of Ireland's population in 1842 and 2023. Can you see the differences? Ireland had a larger population almost 200 years ago than it does today. Do you know how that happened? Mainly through British imperialism and extreme capitalism, but we'll come back to that. In short, Ireland lost its independence to the British Crown and only regained it in 1921, but the north of the island remained under London's rule. This led to tensions and regular bloody clashes. Although we associate Britain with prosperity and safety, more than 3,500 people were killed in Northern Ireland during 30 years of violence known as the Troubles.
Blazing vehicles set alight.
We woke up every morning to a news report that was a bombing or a shooting.
Petrol bomb attacks on shops have been condemned as senseless acts of violence.
Although the killings stopped 26 years ago, the conflict never really ended. The 1998 Good Friday Agreement was accepted by pro-British Unionists, and as a result, the Irish Republican Army, or IRA, considered a terrorist group, entered government.
I'm pleased to announce that the two governments and the political parties of Northern Ireland have reached agreement.
Nationalists accepted that Northern Ireland would remain British until a majority of the population voted for a united Ireland. Belfast was once a truly grim place where anyone could be killed any day as part of a de facto civil war. Checks on shops, the military on the streets, it was a daily occurrence in this part of the UK. Britain and Ireland's entry into the European Union led to a significant improvement in the mood, but Brexit was a big problem for the islanders, especially at the beginning.
It was devastating to really watch this process, this region being essentially taken out of the EU against our wishes.
The one thing we never discussed in all the months and years of the Good Friday Agreement was the UK leaving the European Union. That was, nobody ever dreamt. If you had said that during the negotiations, someone definitely would think you were fit for jail.
In January 2024, tens of thousands of Northern Irish took to the streets to protest the massive debt and economic problems facing their region. The demons of the past are awakening, and Northern Ireland could once again become the site of a major conflict. So today we're going to take a look at exactly what's going on and what the implications are. I invite you to take a look at today's material. On Saturday, February 3rd, exactly 2 years after its collapse, the government of Northern Ireland underwent a dramatic but decisive change. The Belfast Assembly, in session, appointed Michelle O'Neill as First Minister.
Today opens the door to a future, a shared future. I am honoured to stand here as First Minister. We mark a moment of equality and a moment of progress, a new opportunity to work and to grow together. This is an assembly for all, Catholic, Protestant and dissenter. I am sorry for all the lives lost during the conflict without exception. The past cannot be changed or cannot be undone, but what we can do, what we all can do, is build a better future. I will never ask anyone to move on, but I really do hope that we can all move forward.
O'Neill is a representative of the Irish nationalist party, Sinn Féin, Sinn Féin. This marked a historic change for the British-controlled country. Her appointment is seen as a symbol of Irish nationalism. The party advocated the unification of Ireland and Northern Ireland through internal reforms and political methods. It also advocated the unification of Ireland and Northern Ireland, but did not rule out armed struggle. At present, Britain is weak. In fact, looking through the long prism of history, this is one of its worst moments, not in decades, but even centuries, by which people who do not like the British Crown see their chances. Scotland also sees 2025 as another year for a possible breakthrough in its dreams of independence, and recent developments in Northern Ireland are a stark example that change may be closer than anyone thinks. In February 2024, Michelle O'Neill, Northern Ireland's new First Minister, said she believed a border election would be held this decade.
The decade of opportunity, so you anticipate a referendum on Irish unity within the next 10 years?
Yes, I believe we're in a decade of opportunity, and there are so many things that are changing, all the old norms, the nature of the state, the fact that a nationalist Republican was never supposed to be First Minister. This all speaks to that change, and I think that's in terms of, you know, what's happening here on this island. So the next decade, I think, is the decade of opportunity.
A majority of Northern Irish voters support maintaining Northern Ireland's current constitutional position of devolved government within the United Kingdom, although the percentage has fallen from around 55% to around 35%. Support for reunification with Ireland has increased in recent years, and according to 2022 figures, it was around 31%. Now, with the issues of Brexit and the impoverishment of communities in Northern Ireland, that percentage is expected to rise to over 40%, with around 30% of the population still undecided or unsure at this stage. However, there is a clear trend in the direction that is increasingly emerging in the minds of Northern Ireland's population. This is worrying London as nationalist movements are gaining legitimacy, especially with the election of the last Prime Minister, who openly says that Irish reunification is closer than anyone thinks.
If there was a referendum today, so for a united Ireland, would you vote yes or no?
I vote yes, 100%.
Difficult question. It would depend on what the political setup was at the time and what it would mean for the people in the north and the south of Ireland. So I suppose I'd have to weigh it all up at the time.
I'd probably vote for it.
Yeah, and any reason in particular?
No, I just think it'd be a nice thing to do. I think the majority of people want it now, so I'll just go with them.
The main axe of war is the religious division of the region and the historical memories that I reminded you of at the beginning of the material. In the late 1960s, Catholics began organizing peaceful marches along the lines of the civil rights movement in the United States, which provoked violent responses from loyalists and the police. In 1969, riots broke out on an unprecedented scale, and the British military was called in to prevent further escalation. Soon, however, the army became a party to the conflict, exacerbating tensions.
The army's role in Northern Ireland is to keep the peace between the Catholics and the Protestants and to defeat the enemy. The Provisionals have 3 battalions in Belfast, a total strength of about 1,500, enough to keep the British soldiers in a state of constant alert. Can the ordinary soldier on the street really stay neutral?
The ordinary soldier on the street has now been shot at, bottled, abused and stoned by both sides of the population.
For decades, Belfast was a battleground between the Republican RYRA, fighting for Irish unity, loyalist militias defending union with Britain, and British forces. There were bombings, assassinations of politicians and innocent civilians, and regular clashes in the city's divided neighbourhoods. A turning point came on Bloody Sunday in 1972 when British soldiers shot dead 14 people participating in a peaceful march in Derry, which only exacerbated the conflict. After years of violence, the Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1998, ending organised violence and creating a framework for peaceful coexistence.
After a 30-year winter of sectarian violence, Northern Ireland today has the promise of a springtime of peace. The agreement that has emerged from the Northern Ireland peace talks opens the way for the people there to build a society based on enduring peace, justice, and equality.
Although it bears the scars of its past, Belfast has gradually rebuilt its image as a city of peace and cooperation. The Troubles, however, claimed the lives of more than 3,500 people and forced tens of thousands of others to flee their homes. Northern Ireland was torn by civil war for almost 30 years, and we are talking about the rich British Isles, right at the heart of Europe. London's concerns, and those of the people of Belfast themselves, are therefore well-founded, and although Belfast is now a very different place, the people of Belfast say they are tolerant of each other. There is still friction. And how does it look on the map and in the data? 45.3% of the population are Catholics, and 43.5% belong to other branches of Christianity. However, it is estimated that even about 60% of the population is closer to the Catholic Church, and only about 30% are Protestants. This is the main dividing line, which looks like this on the map. It has often been suggested that the Catholic areas should be annexed to Ireland because of the relatively easy division on the map, but if we look more closely, it is not as simple as it seems at first glance. Belfast itself, as the most important and largest city in the region, is also divided about 50% each. What is the economic situation? The north is clearly poorer, with a GDP per capita of about $35,000, while Ireland itself, or the southern part of the island, this year exceeded $100,000. That's a threefold difference, and it's appealing to the people of the north, who, under the leadership of the British Crown, have been experiencing increasing economic problems lately, exacerbated by Brexit. The region is in political gridlock, with public sector cuts and massive labour unrest. Northern Ireland wants integration with the European Union because the region has developed faster under Brussels, a fact the local community is expected to acknowledge. However, the Irish Protocol, part of the Brexit deal, has avoided a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. The protocol keeps Northern Ireland in the EU's customs union for goods, allowing trade to flow freely across the island's border, which is crucial for both the economy and the peace process. However, the de facto customs border has moved to the Irish Sea, between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. Interestingly, as part of the UK, Northern Ireland also offers a VAT solution linked to the European system, creating a certain gap for further cooperation between the islanders and the EU.
I'm long-term very optimistic. I think the Good Friday Agreement has essentially worked, and that's not true of many peace agreements. I think Northern Ireland's got huge possibilities economically, having this advantage of being in the European market and the British market, educated labour force, relatively low housing prices. If we can sort out the political instability, the future of Northern Ireland is fantastic.
But back to the point, although culturally, due to religion, Northern Ireland could indeed unite with the South, there are many obstacles in the way, as experts analyse. Irish reunification would cost the Dublin government between €8 billion and €20 billion a year for 20 years, requiring a significant increase in taxes or a big cut in public spending. The Irish Institute for International and European Affairs, IIEA, estimated in a report. Most importantly, a significant productivity gap would have to be closed. Politico had a very interesting article on November 29, 2024 about how the mood in the US would support reunification. After all, it was America's mediation that made the Good Friday Agreement possible. It's worth noting that Ireland alone is home to some of the largest US corporations, including Google. The issue of Northern Ireland and the reunification of the island is extremely important, even if it does not make the headlines. However, not everyone believes that peaceful reunification is possible, as even members of the currently relatively peaceful Sinn Féin have pointed out. There are still active IRA-derived groups in Northern Ireland, including the new IRA. This is a smaller, splinter organisation that does not accept the 1998 Good Friday Agreement. The group is still violent in its pursuit of Irish reunification, although its activities are limited compared to the Troubles period.
They have taken the soup. That means that they now administer British rule in this country. They bend the knee to a monarch, despite calling themselves Republicans. So what has been good from the Good Friday Agreement? How has it advanced Irish unity? The end of the struggle will be when Britain removes itself from this island and there is the establishment of a 32-county socialist republic.
So you're still in a state of war?
Of course. While any country remains under occupation, there will always be people to carry out acts of resistance.
In 2023, its activities led to the terrorist threat level being raised to severe, meaning a high probability of an attack. And in recent years, the group has carried out attacks on police officers, and in one case, an improvised explosive device was used in an attack on a police patrol. This vividly shows that the road to real peace is bumpy, and the ghosts of the past continue to be present, and the coming years may decide what actually happens there. Unfortunately, no scenario can be ruled out. Thank you for watching today's video, and I hope you will join us for our next production. Remember to leave a subscription so we can reach the 1 million mark. Stay tuned. Cheers.